Good evening, everybody. This is the Town of Auburn Finance Committee. Today is March 18th, 2026. It's 5:30 p.m. Calling the meeting to order. Let me read the open meeting paragraph here. This open meeting of the Town of Auburn Finance Committee is being conducted both in person and remotely, consistent with Chapter 107 of the Acts of 2022, which suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed to participate remotely as long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. For the public to join the meeting remotely by telephone, dial 1-408-650-3123 and use access code 983-263-437. Or the public can join via computer at meet.goto.com/Auburn Select Board Room. All supporting materials that have been provided to members of this body are available on the town's website. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda. Please note this meeting is being recorded by Auburn Cable Television. Is anyone else present recording the meeting? Seeing none. All members are present with us tonight, and I don't believe we have any town officials appearing remotely either. First on our agenda for this evening, we have some transfers. Get right into those. The first is coming from the Salary Reserve Fund, requested by the Parks Department. It's going to the clerical account. Amount requested $336. Reason for the shortage in said contract, cost of GEU contract settlement.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve in a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Next one also from Salary Reserve. This is from DPW Fleet, going to Fleet Clerical. Amount requested $336. Reason, cost of GEU contract settlement. Any questions?
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion and a second to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. This is an interdepartmental transfer from sewer going to electricity. Amount requested $2,968 going to the clerical account. Reason for transfer, cost of GEU contract settlement. Any questions? Patrick?
Just before we finish this, I just threw the chair to the town accountant. Are we done with transfers for union contract negotiations, or are there more in future meetings?
I believe we should be done now. These last three were for some employees where I had to do some reclassifications on their salaries and then recompute how much we needed for the transfer.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion and a second to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. If we don't have any objections, we have a tabled item number 5, which is relative to the DPW budget. Anybody have any objections to moving that one up on the agenda? None? Okay. Karen, did you want to just go over this one real?
Sure. So the changes in the DPW budget were in the divisions of highway, fleet, and parks. And it was adjustments in the salary because there were duplications in some of the categories. So the net amount of the decrease in the DPW total budget is $194,492. There was I'll just bring this up now just to kind of go over all of the different budget changes. There was, I'm sorry.
What was the difference between the one we saw previously and the one that's before us tonight?
That's correct. Yes, it's actually $194,492 lower. And they were in the divisions of highway, fleet, and parks. And the one other change that was made in DPW is that there was a position that was asked for in fleet. And in speaking with the DPW director, it seems like there's more of a need in parks. So the position was taken out of the fleet budget and added to the parks budget. It's not exactly the same. The parks budget salary was slightly lower than the one that was removed in fleet, but it's part of the $194,000 change.
So there was in addition to the 194, and so I guess in part of it.
That's included in the $194,000, yes.
So, I'm gonna have a question, but it's gonna take me a second to figure out how to say it.
Patrick?
I have a question. I think I'm going to ask it. I think that the Board of Selectmen and the town manager had, one of their priorities was for us to, or for the town to look at supporting the DPW. So when we found the change, I think one of the board members asked if we could maybe use that difference to maybe bring some of their wish list to fruition because they were unfortunately not able. My sense when the correction was going to be made was that that money would be used. So I'm pleased that we found an area that the correction, moved in a negative direction. However, it was the one department that really needs a lot of support. So I just was looking for some clarification.
Through the chair, thank you. Yes, the Finance Committee can make recommendations to me as town manager on anything that they want to do, any changes they want to make in this budget or any other budget.
So, through the chair, my question was going to be essentially the same, which was, I think, seems like even Joanna and definitely myself were pleasantly surprised last week to find out that the second, or I guess the second mechanic, third position, fleet maintenance had been funded, and now we've taken that out and moved it to parks. Just given the number of times we've had to do transfers into fleet maintenance, the amount of work I know that we are attempting to do in-house, the amount of routine maintenance that our current mechanics have been doing that hadn't been getting done in years prior. I am obviously supportive of people in parks. I'm surprised that we would find $190,000 in the budget that we didn't think we had, and we wouldn't hit both of those areas. And I personally would strongly advocate for another person in fleet maintenance, just given the sheer amount of work and money we're spending on trying to keep these vehicles on the road. I don't know how many times we had a plow go down during plowing, and that's like the emergency stuff. And again, I sort of, understand that there are things to consider in various areas of the budget, but I would love to understand the reasoning behind not just doing both.
If I can, through the chair, I think she didn't anticipate, obviously, that there was a mistake in the backup and how it tied to the front page. So I think when I told her about the fleet position, she immediately just thought, I need it for parks. We really, if I get one position and I have a choice, that's where it's going to go. So she made that executive decision to put it in parks. It wasn't as if she thought of this as extra money that she can now put in other areas of her budget. If she did, I'm sure she would have recommendations. That is not how she thought, even though, she knows the board can make recommendations to me. And if you did, I would definitely talk to her and get back to you on that. But she didn't look at this as a way to add more money back into her budget.
Yeah, I guess I don't want to keep tacking on to the same point, but I guess I kind of was under the same kind of expression, like understanding is that I thought
Level funded.
that we were gonna, that when we got this back, it was gonna be level funded to what it was with the original, and that they were going to reallocate that funding to a different place, and whether or not the department thought that when they were fixing it, I thought that was kind of our understanding. So I guess when they're working on this in collaboration with the town accountant or with town manager and going over this revised budget, was that discussed? Was that, was there a consideration from you guys, or is it, and again, just to get an idea for the direction of things, was it, hey, we have this and now it's something we can kind of peel back a little bit and we're gonna anticipate using it someplace else? I know there's obviously other budgets we've already approved, so like those are recommended, so like not necessarily there, but I'm just trying to understand, because it feels like they lost something in this, and I don't necessarily, I'm surprised by it as well. So I guess my question is like, it feels like almost like, not that it's like they're getting one pulled over on them, but they went back and fixed it, and we told them they could have, or I'm not told them they could have it, because obviously, you know what I mean, but that they thought they were going to come back with this. They came back and asked for less, and it was like, oh, well, it's less, so we're okay with it. And
So through the chair, I did not come away with the understanding that we were going to reappropriate this money into any particular budget. The conversation that I had with the department head was that we were going to get it so that it actually was added correctly, and that the board can then decide if there's any particular area you want it in, whether it be in this DPW budget or in any other budget, whether it's something you've approved that you want to reopen or moving forward, that you would have that as an option. We did not think that that we would task to merge this back into their budget as additional funding sources for new positions. But I do agree, it is a priority for the Board of Selectmen and for finance and for me, whether it's roadway improvements or staffing. I definitely agree with you on both of those, but I didn't want to, at this stage of the game, take it away from the Finance Committee. This is really your recommendation that you want to make to me, and I'll look into it, talk to the department head, and I'll get back to you on it.
If I could, through the chair, Dory, do you know, because I'm trying to read the backup, and on some of it, I remembered earlier on, you gave us, where you had said there was a difference between what the departments requested and what was recommended, and you said, unfortunately, there was A, B, and C that I could not honor in the DPW. Do you recall, are A, B, and C now funded already in this? Because I'll make a motion if it's not. I just want to make sure that I don't make a motion to add something back that was already added back from the things that you could not give them.
I believe there is the fleet position they were looking for
Right.
that I wasn't able to fund. I had it funded and they moved it to parks, so that was one area. We completely funded their request for fleet supplies, which was good. There's also roadway improvements.
Right.
So every year they ask for a lot more than they ever get, and that is because of the demand and the need. So that would be another area that would be considered.
So I guess I'd like to make a motion for the board to consider giving back the difference in the fleet mechanic and then the rest of that to go towards road repair to make it whole and not actually accept the budget as the 194,492 deficit. I'd like that money to go towards a fleet position and then the rest to roads.
I would just chime in, kudos to Mike for catching
But
it.
to point of order, there's a motion on the floor, so we have to,
Yeah, so there's a motion, any discussion on well,
well, it needs to be seconded before it becomes a,
do we have a second? You would second it. Any discussion on the motion on the floor?
Kudos to Mike for catching basically an accounting error, a tabulation error. But I was not under the impression that because that error was made, that somehow that was allocated money or should be allocated. So I disagree with your motion.
if I could, Steve, the reason why I'm making the motion is because when we go back to the very, very beginning of the budget presentation, one of the very first things said that night was that let me step back one more. The Board of Selectmen made the DPW a priority. Unfortunately, given some of the other circumstances that were going on, Dory, Mr. Vecchio, the town manager, could not meet, she had to cut over $2 million plus in money of department needs. But in that $2 million that she had cut were positions that were in the DPW that was a priority of the board. So I just want to clarify that I'm not just making it on behalf of the Finance Committee but I'm trying to follow suit with the fact that the Board of Selectmen had charged the town administration and its department heads with more financial support for the DPW. I just wanted to clarify. So you had said that it wasn't just because of an error. What we're saying is that she did the best. The way I view it is that she did what she could. An error was made, but there were, because that error was made, other things didn't get. In other words, you could look at it as if that $194,000 was caught sooner, we may have had the ability to do more for DPW. I just wanted to clarify why I was taking the position. I'm not just doing it on behalf of us as a board, but because I'm aware that it's a charge of the Board of Selectmen, part of the charge of the Board of Selectmen.
Just on Patrick's motion, I'm going to support it, but just as the reasons why is I think they've articulated, I support the parks. They've just added another park behind the fire station to maintain. There's plenty of work to be done there. And then the fiscally responsible side is the fleet side, which we've seen expenditures for things having to be outsourced. So I think there is a fiscal responsibility by having that fleet positions. And the taxpayers have requested any dollar we can put towards improving their roadways. So even though it's going to be a relatively small amount, Steve, I think you pointed out the true cost of a mile of roadway isn't going to even come close to what the leftover is going to be. But I think it's a good motion. That's why I would be supporting it once we get to that. Any other discussion?
I'll just say, I know that there's a citizen's petition being put forward by one of the select board members to increase the amount towards repaving. So I am very much in support of adding a third position to the fleet maintenance, a second mechanic. I don't know that I think just like tack on the rest to roads. Like, I agree with you to the extent that like, if they hadn't had this error, they probably wouldn't gone all the way back 194,000. There probably would have been money for something else. But given how much they're putting into the capital improvement plan for roads and the fact that the town meeting will have an opportunity to vote on additional funding towards roads, I personally think my priority tonight, at least, is that fleet maintenance position, because it was something I was very supportive of last week, and now it's not there. And so that's what surprised me. So just to be clear, like if I vote no, it's because I don't want to just throw money at roads without. This isn't reasonable, but whatever the process is for figuring out exactly what that dollar amount should be.
Yeah, my thought on it is the idea is level, or like, again, like my thought was it kind of would be level funded. So I guess I don't want to say it doesn't matter to me where that difference goes, but I think the way it's been happening year over year is basically that you put money into the roadways and then it ends up getting taken out of the roadways because they divert to different projects and that gets kicked down the road. So I guess my thought is I don't want to put it in there and call it like that we're punting on it per se, but that we're putting it there with the idea that it stays in DPW, and then if they're able to continue on the work within the roadways, it can stay there. If there's other things that money needs to go to, they'll have the ability to come here and ask for a transfer to move it there. They can, whatever the DPW thinks is the best direction for them to be moving in at that time. But the important thing is that the totality of that 194,000, in my opinion, stays inside of their budget. So rather than getting into the nitty gritty of saying, well, let's go back to this and get the position, but not do anything with the money, then we're left with this difference. And I think it makes it cleaner, with what Patrick's saying, to just put it there and then allow the department to kind of move with it as they so choose down the road.
Can I just put this out there for discussion? This has been a great year and a little bit different for us, right? We've had some good stuff in the presentations and some discussions as to where things have gone. We still have other departments that have come before us, and we are kind of pushed up against the 2.5. And I don't know what the dollar amount would be that this would be left if we were to recommend the fleet position as well.
60.
It would probably
It's
bring
around
it down to
65,000.
60%, 64%.
Gary, do you have an idea what that number would be if we were to,
Out of the 194?
out of the 194?
Yes. So 64,770 would be for the fleet position, and the difference is 129,722.
As a committee, should we save that to the end in case there's something else that comes before us?
I think it's important to recognize that we went to 84% of 2.5. So with the 200,000 that's in front of us, we're probably down to about 70% towards the 2.5, which we're going to bump up for the fleet maintenance person. So we're still, around 75% towards 2.5. But I'm fine with just putting the fleet position in there. Again, I sort of see Michael's point in that, and Trevor saying it a little differently, but it sort of gets difficult. I was going to tack it onto roads, but then Mike points out the warrant article. So I could amend my motion, but it would be to amend it so that we only add back the value for the fleet manager and let the warrant article, because it's going to be difficult in an amendment to amend the whole thing and not have direct purpose. So I don't know if someone else, is that sort of what you were saying? Is because we can't just necessarily put it in there without putting it on a line item. So I was going to add it to roads. But Mike points out that, that we are, already got a warrant article out there. So it's just that, if we go back to the discussion on the roads, we're already at, what was the discussion we put in, if you took the full value of the 4 million and we're doing 3 million, that's only 75% of the road. So for every year, a percentage gets kicked back. So the reason why I said to put it towards the roads is because it might appear de minimis, but that extra 90 or 127 that we could put in there is that much more that we could get a little bit more road due close to the amount of the need. Because every year we have a need and we never get close to it. So that's why I sort of put it, even though there is a warrant article out there, we're trying to help get the roads cleaned up. That's why and that puts it in fleet mechanic and it puts it on road. So it gives it two, in the amendment or the motion gives two specific places for it. It's going to be hard to put a motion on the table and have it be somewhat ambiguous because there's got to be a place in the budget for it. Or we just do the fleet mechanic and like you're suggesting, that we just do the fleet mechanic and let the differential
Available for us.
be available for us later. But
The only thing I'd say is I tend to agree with Patrick. We can't let it float. The only other budget based on what the Board of Select recommendations would be schools, that their priorities are the DPW and schools. And I know we haven't gone through schools. So I guess if someone felt strongly that that money should go towards schools, that's kind of what we're weighing with the extra money. In my mind, I wouldn't think we would go back to another budget like police or, somewhere else. I think we would focus on schools. At least I would. That's where I would land.
Well, I guess that's kind of why I pitched it the way I did, was that, quite honestly, when they went through this, whatever they thought that number was, they thought they were asking for a certain number, and the town manager agreed to expend a certain number to that department. I think it would be a little unfair to say we're gonna let that money kind of sit there because we haven't seen other budgets, and then when we've got one in front of us that was showing like a need and a priority to focus on, but then secondly, you think about the other ones that have come before us, and I'm not saying obviously in front of the camera, schools need money too, but we come here in the police department saying we want extra officers, and it's like, hey, if fire had gone your week and police went your week, we could give you an extra officer because we found an extra $100,000. Now we can't, but fire could get an extra firefighter because they happen to go 2 weeks later. It feels like a little bit of or an extra teacher or an extra whatever. Like it feels unfair. And again, that's why I kind of agree with the motion on the floor, which is keep the money in the department. And I understand there's this warrant on the roads and such, but again, that line item for them has consistently been the one that they're pulling from and using. And I'm not obviously it's not like free cash for them, but it inevitably becomes where they pull from to make themselves whole in other areas when priorities get shifted. So I think it makes sense because regardless of that, whatever $100,000, that $120,000 that could end up in that account, it's still not going to be enough that warrant article is still going to be just in the sense where it's not like they don't need it anymore because they got $120,000. I think it'd be just as, it would make things cleaner and smoother to do that, to leave it with them in whole, it as a whole, than to start saying, well, now we've got looking at it like, the next department that comes in and goes, oh, there's an extra 120,000 we found, what about this, what about that, like it feels a little.
Steve?
I think it's just a weird precedent to take what is an honest, simple bookkeeping error and simply make that become a budget decision. The department and the town manager who've already gone through with a number of meetings on how to manage looking forward for the next year, and whatever they came up with, I'm not going to second guess it. They wrote down a bunch of numbers. The numbers was just a mistake of the numbers. So to the end of the year, we've got a few extra dollars, which we know has a million different ways of, from the snowstorms to everything else. There's a million different ways to disappear. It's not as if the DPW is working in a zero-sum game and, they're necessarily going to be hurting because of this bookkeeping error. Just fix the error and move on. I think we're complicating this unnecessarily.
I'll say two quick things. One, the error was entirely in wages, which are like costs that we don't really have the opportunity, like when it's positions that are already filled, don't really have the opportunity to say yes or no to. So I don't think it's as simple as like either they get all 190 or they don't get it. Like, because I'm sure that the calculations take into account some of these things are optional, some aren't. Like some items we can fund more or less, some things we can't. We can't tell someone, hey, your salary next year is lower than it was this year because the budget didn't work out, sorry. So I do think we have some level, we have every right to adjust any budget throughout this process that we feel like we want to. So I agree sort of on both sides of this, which is like, one, I don't want to just give them $94,000 because they made a mistake. I don't think that makes sense. But I do think if we don't add this money to the budget now, we're not taxing it. This is tax levy. So it's not like we just have an extra $120,000 at the end of the year next year to throw towards something. We'd have to increase taxes at a later point, which would require an act of town meeting. So personally, if we have an opportunity right now to say, hey, the town manager and DPW made a hard choice between parks and fleet. They've changed their mind between last week and this week. I don't really care. Basically, what they've done is undo the error and just move the position from one place to the other. I personally am an advocate for the fleet maintenance position getting put back in because in talking about it last week, one, I don't think Joanna thought she was getting it. So she wasn't really in a great position to be like, yeah, this is why we need it. But like, how many meetings have we had where that department is getting more money because there's so much work? Unrelated to the entire error issue, if the budget had come back exactly the same as last week, but it was just, hey, we're moving that, I would still be advocating for extra position in fleet maintenance. So that's my stance on it. We should vote on the motion. There was a motion in a second, so unless anyone else has something urgent to say, like I'd love to.
Yeah, my last thought is just, I would discourage anybody, I agree with it, and then, again, if you want to amend it, I'm fine moving in that way. I would think it would be a little unfair of us in this process to start thinking about anyone coming up ahead of us.
Yeah.
To try and reallocate that as like found money, like it's kind of like we've added this and we're taking, it's kind of like out of the realm of things, I think. I think it would be unfair of us because every department has come here and said that there are things that they wanted and didn't get, and we've moved on from it. And it's kind of like a happy accident. And that's my only thing, is that we keep that in mind moving forward and not look at this as a way to make someone else whole, because we have had a lot of opportunities to do that already and haven't. So that's all I have to say.
Andrew?
Last one. I may have misspoke. That was not my intention. I was just saying that the two priorities for the Board of Select were those two departments. So for me personally, if we did choose to re-amend money, it's to one of those two. In no way do I think that that's the route that we should go. I think personally that the money, I agree with Patrick, I guess, in your take, that the money's here, it should stay here, and it should fund DPW. So if I misspoke, just to clarify.
I just want to clarify that I don't think I'm going to change my motion. I think that the motion why I made it is again, just to clarify, you have to have a specific bucket for it, or it's going to make it very difficult for town administration and the CFO to work with a pending amount, and it's not a proper motion. So again, just to reiterate, and I know I did have in mind the warrant article, and my whole intention was to find two buckets, but, probably with the warrant article and what we have, anything we can throw towards our roads, and maybe we get a few more extra feet done this year. So I will say that the motion stands that we appropriate. So my motion is that we move to put $194,492 towards a fleet maintenance position, and the rest into roadway and operations or CIP. I'm not sure, is it in CIP?
It would have to be under the
Operations, right.
roadways line item in their specific budget.
Right.
Right, so yeah, and so both in operations, just so that I'm clear on my motion.
Okay, so we did have a motion on that and a second. All in favor?
Yeah, I'm keeping it the same.
No discussion, all in favor on that motion? Okay, we have all except Stephen's gonna, and
I'm out, yeah.
you know.
No, sorry.
You're a no as well, Stephen?
No.
No, okay. You got everyone? Okay, very good. And, thank you, that was good. I think that was a good process. We shouldn't all agree on this at all times. That would be a disservice to the taxpayers. But it also, I think this process does allow us down the road to reopen. If we get to the end and realize we need another 40,000, we could reopen certain budgets and make motions to reallocate monies in different places. So I don't think that just because this is voted tonight, it locks us in not until we send it off for approvals. I think we're still in a good position.
So, through the chair, just because I did this math for myself a second ago, and we're going to have to approve a slightly different budget. At least on the wages item in fleet maintenance, it's now 203,059. And then the total budget, I don't have the roadway because that's too much math for me. I'd have to subtract and add, and I can only do 100%. But the total budget would just go back to what we would have voted on last week, which would be 75,91,776. Just
You have it? You have last week's? I took mine out, so you have, I'll let you
Make the motion.
make the motion on the DPW.
all right. I given our previous motion, I move that we recommend a total DPW bottom line budget of $7,591,776. Somebody has to second it.
Second.
Thank you.
We have a motion to recommend the DPW budget as the number listed by Michael, and a second by Trevor. All in favor?
Aye.
I'm going to vote no, because I'm not quite sure I even, you're just taking the first motion now and then putting it into the total for this motion. So I'm just going to say no, because otherwise it'd be inconsistent.
Okay. Good to know. Okay. Very good.
Through the chair, thank you for your support.
Thank you. Okay, on to item 4, which is our EIS facing. Director Darlene Coyle is here with us this evening. Thank you
Hi, good evening.
for being here. Do you have a presentation for us?
I do. I'm just going to step away for a second. Good evening. For the portion of the presentation, I'm just going to be down here, go through the slides and give you an update on what's happening in DDIS in the past year. And certainly, if you have any questions, just stop me at any time. And then I'll join you back up at the table. I'm Darlene Coyle. I'm the Director for Department of Development and Inspectional Services. I appreciate the opportunity to give you this update. So I'm going to start first with the Health Department. DDIS is made up of several divisions, and Health Department is near and dear to me. I'm the Health Director as well. Here, giving you a snapshot of, we're responsible for a lot of a lot of responsibilities in town. So a lot of people think that the health department does food inspections, and that's what we do. That's one aspect, and it's an important aspect. We have about 100 plus brick and mortar establishments, and surprising to know, we have in the past year about 75 temporary food establishments. So that means that events that come to town, people that want to have some sort of bake sale or something where they're going to celebrate an occasion, we do those inspections. Those inspections can be high risk, low risk, and they require our inspector to go out. We do plan reviews on a lot of different type of permits, including food, septic, well. We have camps, body art establishments, tanning, pools, beaches. One of the items that takes a lot of time from our department are going to be housing inspections. Those are compliance with the state sanitary code. We have pretty much anything you can think of for a complaint that could come in, nuisance, trash, housing. They all start kind of with the health department, and then we determine, does it fall under a code that we enforce, or does it belong in some other division? This slide here shows kind of the breakdown on the permits and approvals that we handled in 2025. You can kind of see, I'm not going to go through all of them, but the items that take a good amount of time are going to be anything in the food category. Plan reviews, we're going through different codes, state codes, local codes, to make sure that a establishment is in compliance. We have trailer parks, animal permits, waste haulers, the trash trucks that you see drive around town. We actually permit those to make sure that they are picking up and disposing of trash properly. We have septic systems. We actually have quite a few areas of town that don't have public sewer. So we did over a dozen septic system installations last year. We do perk test for that, private well, body art, and unusual. We've never had this before, and it was pretty interesting. And we did a cemetery. So there was a cemetery added in the town. I have to say, in my career, I've never been part of that, so it was a very good learning experience, and working with state partners, and it was very interesting. And it was great for the staff too, because it's not something you see all the time. Board of Health complaints, that kind of gives you a snapshot of different types of complaints that we handle. We had over close to 120 complaints. So planning, conservation, and zoning. I'm giving you this slide just to give you an understanding. We have several regulatory boards that fall under Department of Development and Inspectional Services. So we have these boards in addition to the Board of Health. So they have regular meetings. We handle all different types of applications. You can kind of see in the different boxes, planning board, site plans, special permits, approval not required plans, road acceptance, conservation. You're basically going to be looking to make sure that wetlands are protected. There's a state wetlands Protection Act, there's the Rivers Protection Act, and then we also have our own bylaw for wetlands. So the town of Auburn has its own bylaw. And then Zoning Board of Appeals, special permits, variances, and I think everybody can appreciate the zoning board had a lot of activity last year in 2025 with 40B for comprehensive permits in housing. So this just kind of gives you a understanding that we support these boards, and those are regular meetings that we respond to, and we help to make sure that anybody coming through the process with any of those boards are going to be supported to have people to answer those questions. The next slide for staffing support. So these three positions fall under DDIS, and it kind of gives you just a snapshot for the responsibilities that each of these positions have. Currently, we do have these positions vacant. We are, I'm excited to tell you, land use coordinator, we are in the process of hiring somebody we've offered the position to. Town planner, we've had a recent vacancy, and economic development coordinator from the past year. Working closely with the town manager, we are trying to get these positions filled. As you all know, we do have a new assistant town manager and director of economic development, Mr. Delaquila, joined us maybe about 7 months ago or so, and he is helping to support DDIS and handle these functions here, along with our current staff. We understand that there's a great need, and there's a lot of responsibility that falls in these positions, and all these positions are front-facing, so they're working with the public directly, working with businesses, and trying to get somebody through a permit, a question, a complaint, something that they need assistance out in the field. We recognize all of that. It's all important, so we're looking to fill these positions as quickly as possible, and I'm hoping to have some positive updates next time I come to see you. So building department and zoning enforcement, this is such a key category. This slide has a lot going on. It gives you a snapshot. We have over 2,200 permits that were issued in 2025 in the building department, and those are all broken down for residential, commercial, signs, plumbing, electrical. We also have weights and measures. So that kind of gives you, there's a whole permitting process. With that permitting process, we have an online portal. So we have an OpenGov is the software that we have. You may remember in previous years, we had a different software, Simplicity. In 2024, we transitioned to this new software to make it easier for the public to be able to access. And through 2025, that transition process to be able to find out what the software does is a work in progress. We are doing much better now, and it's much easier for the public to access that. So we've had kind of a lot of customer service training and being able to reach out, having almost like mini Q&As with them and the staff, and we're thrilled to have that working better. We also have, as far as one of the important things that falls under the building department are life safety inspections. So those are called typically the 110 inspections. In 2025, we did over 70 of those. So those are going to include any places of assembly, multifamilies, 3-family or more, housing units, hotels, residential facilities. Those are pretty important inspections. In the past, we have not had enough staff to do that. So now in 2025, we were able to hire a building inspector, and he has been working collaboratively with the fire department to get those inspections done. And we're constantly looking for new facilities that may fall into that. The picture that you see there, kind of you probably see it, but you don't really think of it. One of the important functions of our building department is to be able to respond to emergencies. And those pictures are actually recent pictures. A tree went through a house, and then there was a fire. So often when first responders are going to an emergency that's happening, there's some sort of structural concern. So our building team is called out to determine whether or not the structure is safe. Can it be boarded? Can it be temporarily used? Or do we have to put a family out? Obviously, that's the last case scenario, but, making sure that everything is going to be safe for the family. So you'll see those postings. Zoning enforcement also falls under the building commissioner, a very important function. We have a zoning interpretation request form that's available for the public. So if somebody has a parcel of property or they have a business space and they're looking to do some sort of change, or they want to try a certain business, or they want to build a duplex or three-family, they can put in a written zoning interpretation to the building commissioner, and then he goes through our code books and determines what they need to do in order to do that in compliance with any permits, going through any boards, so that's very helpful. So I'm excited to tell you about energy management. This is something new for us in 2025. While we have had energy management, we were only doing it part-time. So we had a position, as you may recall, it was energy manager and economic development coordinator. That was one position through a grant through the state. So that first box is the Municipal Energy Managers Grant. They call it the MEM grant, and that's a 3-year grant provided by the state, and it allows the town to be able to use grant money for the purpose of having somebody come on, and they have all sorts of goals that they have to meet each year. So we're in the 2nd year of the grant. We have hired an employee, and they have kind of hit the ground running since they started. And I'll just go through a couple of these things. We've had a community event in the past couple of weeks at the library. I have to say, the people that were putting on the event from National Grid, they were so excited because they don't usually have that many people show up. So it was the first time we've done the community event. It was something that the town manager, the select board, and in general, when we applied for this grant, the whole point is to try to make it easier and connect the residents to somebody that can help save them money. So this event was held at the library. It went well, really well, and we had close to like 25 people show up. So they literally brought in their bills. They sat down, spoke with representatives from National Grid. We had other services there. If they qualified for elder services, they had smart meters. It was just lovely. So it was a really nice event. We also have coming this springtime this home performance contractor town partnership. So our energy manager is partnering with a contractor, and what they're going to do is they will send out education and resource if you want to have like a energy assessment done for your home. That's coming in the springtime, so we are working on that right now. We also have applied for more charging stations. You may know in the back, actually right out this window behind you, are 2 charging stations for the town hall. We are looking to put more charging stations into municipal lots. So we have applied for a EV charging grant. We're hoping to hear by summertime, but that is through DEP, Department of Environmental Protection. We'll be putting charging stations similar to the one in the back at Pappas and also at the library. So really kind of trying to make it a little bit easier for people that visit municipal buildings to have EV charging. And I am thrilled to tell you, Green Communities, we just literally got this award in the past, I want to say maybe in the past couple of days, but in the past week, we got over $100,000. So I think it's like $112,000. We got a Green Community Grant Award to help with insulation projects for town buildings. So ultimately trying to make the buildings more efficient and getting more insulation, trying to spend less money on heat and cooling. So it's kind of very exciting for us. So that's kind of gives you a little bit. Oh, and I'm sorry, one more thing. I brought tonight, there's a climate action survey that we just released, I think maybe on Friday. So I have copies here on the desk if you want to take a paper copy. And then if you are leaving in the hall out here, we have a big sandwich board sign, and it has a QR code that you can scan it. And we would love for you to take a climate survey. Gathering that information will from the residents. We're hoping to be able to see what the residents' needs are, and be able to hopefully maybe get those identified to see how we can move forward, either getting a committee together or identifying kind of next steps with that. So animal control. Animal control is a very busy department, probably as you may know, it's 24/7 and 365 days a year, holidays, weekends, nights. Animal control is very busy. It is on this slide. It kind of gives you some cost of when I go through the budget. Just wanted to give you some details. So we have in the vet budget, I think we were maybe about 6 months in that line item went almost to zero. So we have a pretty heavy need for veterinary funds. This chart, it comes from the animal control officer. She called around to several veterinary clinics to get an average cost of what different vet bills would be. Excuse me. We have we've put together this chart to identify at minimum we probably spend about $250 a month times 12 brings us to about $3,000. So that's the request that we have in the current budget. And then also for the education, there is an increase in the educational budget. In 2025, we lost our animal control officer. She had been here for several years, very experienced. However, we were fortunate because the assistant animal control officer had interest in moving forward. It is the career path that she was excited to have the opportunity. And that also comes with making sure that we invest in our staff for professional development. It is something that the town manager and the select board have identified as something that we want to invest across the board in our people. So these are some of the classes, the professional organizations that provide training. One thing that I did want to point out, our animal control officer wasn't able to partake in some of these trainings this year because of staffing needs. So it's a hard job to, on the assistants, because they are nights, weekends, part-time, it's hard to fill those positions. So we have had some challenges with that. Fortunately, we just hired somebody recently, but they do need training. And we've had some staff out on sick leave. So again, just being able to invest in training is a real big need there. And one good thing is some of these classes are online, so we have the staff, if they're not able to physically go to these classes, at least they can take these classes online. And then one exciting thing I wanted to point out in the bottom right-hand corner, that slide shows you there's about 3,000 dogs in town, and we are already in March. As of yesterday, St. Patty's Day, we're already about a third there for dogs licensed. So wanted to give you that good news. This shows about the volume. We get over 800 calls for animal control that come through. I think you can kind of see the range. There's all different types of animals. We had in 2025 over 80 animal intakes. So intakes come into the kennel, whether they are strays, they're injured. We've got to try to reunite them with owners if they are available, or figure out if they are injured wildlife. We've got to get them to a place that can handle them, either a rehab facility or an emergency hospital. We had close to 50 complaints in 2025. And then coming soon, we have a rabies clinic in 2026. So we're pretty excited to be able to offer a rabies clinic. It's going to be April 18th, 9 to 12 here at the town hall. So please look for some flyers on that. Recycling and solid waste. So we have solid waste and recycling is a really busy department. We have over 5,200 customers on the program, and that program, our town, we're very fortunate. We have curbside pickup. That's not across the across all municipalities, but the curbside pickup includes solid waste recycling, and then we also do yard waste pickup twice a year. We are contracted with Casella Waste. They provide this service. We think it's a really fabulous service, and we're pretty proud of it. We have single and two-family properties are who qualifies for this, and then we have some of the pricing there as well. The grants, there are grants through the state recycling dividend program. If we do certain things that help people to recycle more and have less waste for tonnage, we get points for that. And I'm proud to say we got $1,100 this year. The program at the state is becoming increasingly harder to get those points. So what those things that we do, we're proud of. In addition, this is a program that we started, I think we're in our third or fourth year. Residents, each household, so each household in Auburn can drop off once a year household hazardous waste to facility in Sutton called Veolia. Previously, it was a different name of a company, NEDT. They've since sold to Veolia. It's maybe about 15 minutes, right up 146, and the household gets an $85 credit just for going there. So you can clean out your basements, your garages, and they'll add everything up and take $85 off. So you just have to bring your ID, and it's a really great program. We're proud to have that, and we pay for that with grant money, so it doesn't cost the town anything. A couple of things that you may not know, we have a lot of programs in town that are free for residents. So we take the Christmas and holiday string lights. We actually recycle those, and we get a little bit of money of those, a little bit of money for those. We take mercury bulbs from residents. We have a med drop box that is like a really busy program. So you can drop off your expired meds at the police station. Sharps, if you have Sharps, put them in a Sharps container. You can drop those off at the fire station. We got a really awesome machine that grinds them up, sterilizes them, and we can put them in the regular trash. All those are free for residents, and I can tell you that's not something that's common across all towns. And it's a really big year for us. One of the things that I'm very excited about is every year we do a townwide cleanup day that happens in the first Saturday in May. And this year it's kind of like a very exciting year because we also have Hazardous Waste Day. So that's going to happen in June. Again, those are free for residents to be able to come and get rid of items that are hard to dispose. So Saturday, June 6th, and May 2nd is the townwide cleanup day. I just want to take a second. I know this doesn't really have anything to do with budget or DDIS or anything like that. But this week, I was part of something that I was very privileged to experience. So once in a lifetime, so this is a 100-year anniversary for somebody that did something monumental. So Dr. Goddard launched the first liquid-fueled rocket from Packagug, and I just thought it was pretty amazing that we could celebrate something so exciting here in Auburn and at Packagug, which is like one of our most beautiful assets. I had the privilege to work on the Goddard Centennial Committee and also part of the planning for this event. That day, it turned out to be a beautiful sunny day, and there were so many people that came up to me and thanked me, and I'm like, oh, it's a big group, and people were like really excited to come to that. So I just wanted to take a moment to thank the community because it seemed like it was kind of like a happy day, and I just wanted to recognize it. So thank you. So I'll join you back up at the desk.
Thank you. That was a tremendous presentation. That's sort of what we're looking for. You not only highlighted statistical stuff for your department, you highlighted the good work of your staff, even, putting photos of them up there, just introducing us to who they are, what they do. And, I've heard, I know a little bit about from being on the committee for a while, but just for our others that don't and the public to realize all the different facets of inspectional services, you did your division a tremendous service by just that presentation, so thank you for that.
Thank you so much.
Any questions, just general questions on the presentation? Otherwise, we'll kind of go through, chunk out the budget and see if there's any specific questions.
Thank you.
So we'll move right to, public health.
All right, so public health budget, there is two items to note. The assistant health director has a increase of 5%. It is, I know, outside of the committee's recommended 2%. I feel that the 5% is something I feel strongly about. This employee has done a lot in the past year and a half, working towards certifications to expand her knowledge, and she's doing a great job. I would like to give her more, but I think that, trying to respect what the committee's recommendations are. So there is that. And then there's also a request for an assistant DDIS director. As you may know, in the past year, I did have 2 assistant directors, and both have moved on for other employment opportunities. I have spoken with the town manager, and I do understand why she can't move forward with the request. They're very similar to other departments, but it is something that the committee should know. It was a request that I made for the need in the department. As you can see, it's a pretty busy department, and having support to help the staff be able to get through their responsibilities, making sure they're meeting what they need to do, and having assistance for me to be able to lead. So I just wanted to point out, those are the only 2 changes to the budget. Everything else is typical.
Questions on public health?
Yeah, just in speaking to the 5% increase on the assistant health director, and I think this is kind of an overarching question to other line items as to, in other areas, but I think in the past, there had been some discussions in TDIS about doing like salary assessments and other things for like the town building inspectors and things like that. And the other line items, are we confident, comfortable at this point that we're meeting where we need to be for salary expectations, or is that something we're still feeling like we're not? I know you've mentioned people leaving for other opportunities. We had our animal control person leaving, and obviously we had someone step in, but it's not always someone there. So do we feel confident in the other areas like that we're meeting, at least in line with other relative talents?
I mean, I think it's a great question. I can't say that I'm 100% confident that these are all up to date of where they need to be. I know over the past several years, we've made a lot of changes and a lot of improvements towards getting salaries towards something where if somebody's balancing out a decision to go elsewhere versus staying, I think it's an overall, there's a lot of factors in it. It's not always just, what you're getting paid. Is the environment something that is a good working environment? Is there flexibility, with personal needs and family needs and those sort of things? I appreciate the question. I think that we are in the ballpark, but I do think that they can always be looked at, and I think that that is something that the management here, I think, recognizes, and I don't think anybody wants to see anybody leave that has talent and experience, because honestly, it's hard to train.
Right, and it's credit to in general to the town employees. I've been on this committee for a while now, and one thing I've noticed is there's a lot of people that are willing to stay in town and work in town and commit to the community, as opposed to what you're seeing in a lot of trends in private sector business where it's chasing, a better paycheck or comp package or whatever the case may be. I just want to make sure, because sometimes I think what the issue is that, and I just remember it being in here before, was that, someone leaves and they're a $65,000, $70,000 line item, and then when we're trying to fill it, there's these extended vacancies, or there's like we're coming back, and then all of a sudden a $70,000 line item is like a $110,000 line item. So just want to, if we're confident in the stability of that for now, fine. That's great. Something I want to. We've been asking kind of every department about the needs of things that they have wanted, and areas of kind of weakness in their budget, and I noticed that pretty much every department is relatively level funded at this point, except for that one position, so I just want to make sure that we're keeping an eye on that.
Thank you very much for noticing. Again, trying to make sure that, like, it's not just one department, it's one department in a whole town, and, you know, you can't, yeah, it's not the private sector. You know, you can't just say, hey, I want to make, you know, $30,000 more. It's about balancing out a host of different things. So while I would love to give people more money, I also recognize, you know, I'm trying to balance out what your recommendations are.
Yep, thank you.
Patrick?
To follow on those coattails, just because of clarification, I just wanted, you said you at one time had two. And this is sometimes where I have to pay attention very close to the budget, because in some areas we itemize, and then other pages are more like summary pages. So the line item says Assistant Health Director, but yet it almost was as if the second one is filled. So Evie, I thought you said you did. Are both of those vacant at the moment, and you're going back to two, even though the one is there? Because there's a significant difference, and I'm thinking that you're looking for certain qualifications. One assistant is going to sort of fall into this realm of what you have to do, and the other one's going to fall into a different. So you're looking for a different skill set, which might merit a different salary.
So thank you very much for the question, because that's not what it is.
Okay, but you can
So-
see how I can interpret.
Yes, absolutely, and it is very close. So we did put the DDIS Assistant Director in this health budget, just, I think for convenience.
Because they wear hats, and some of this is going to come from other,
Exactly.
they're going to be seen in other areas.
Right, so the hat that I wear obviously is the director of the department, but I'm also the health director.
Right.
So I myself, as the health director, have an assistant health director, which is the 5% increase that I'm asking for the
Exactly,
assistant.
okay.
However, the DDIS assistant director that I'm requesting, that role has been filled with employees in the department that wore two hats. Right now, we don't have an assistant for, like, DDIS.
And I do, I mean, the backup a lot of times is great in all the departments, but sometimes people either cross over a department, or sometimes it's singular in the budget line, but you'll see a description, and then there'll be 3 or 4 people that actually fill that role.
Right.
So you have to go to the backup. I was just clarifying here, because you said that right now you need 2, and I just wanted to make sure that I was following it.
Right, I had 2 previously, so there were two people filling the role of an assistant DDIS director. One was the town planner, who obviously we lost, and the other was the animal control officer, and we lost her as well. So again, it's not uncommon for people to wear 2 hats in my department. We often cover a lot of ground, but that's the difference. I'm sorry, it falls under the health budget, but it could be put in any of the budgets.
And I think I want to also add, just because I think this is the timing of it, in wanting to make sure that we are competitive with our salaries, I think one of the biggest challenges we face today is people do make their salaries a certain component of their negotiation, and unfortunately, for better or worse, towns suffer because to get a competitive person and to train them and get them up to speed, and they've really, unfortunately, we don't have any control over it. They've sort of used us to get that platform of a salary, and then in a very short period of time, they move on, because now they've got some experience and they become appealing to a competitor, to sort of, in its simplest form. So it really is a catch-22 to offer a competitive salary without saying, well, you've got to work for us for 3 years. So it's you know, it's definitely it's a moving target that management in all municipalities constantly have to contend with. So it's a difficult thing, but hopefully you'll get your 2 assistants soon enough.
Right. I mean, I think just recognizing anybody that has experience, looking at, what they're making and seeing if it's enough to keep them.
But as
Because
someone who's been in a directorship before, I've had assistant director positions, and I've had people utilize that as a pivot point coming from many years. They'll work for a couple of years, and as soon as that directorship opens somewhere else, they're zipping out, and I couldn't control that. You just have to move with it. So I just wanted to say, as much as we want to be competitive with our salaries, it's a double-edged sword. So, thank you.
Michael, do you have a question?
It's not on health specifically, so if we're going to go to the other budgets, I can wait.
Yeah, I'm just going to follow on both those comments. I mean, there was not too long ago, you had some issues with the retention, and we were basically the best training ground in central Massachusetts for folks, for inspectors, because they would come in, you would train them up, and they were off. So I think town administration's current and past had done a better job of identifying what the comparable salaries were to make us competitive. But Patrick's a great point that, there's a point where people are still going to utilize that to pivot for, other roles. But, yeah.
I have a sort of a slightly different question. It sounds like a lot of people, because of vacations, illness, people leaving. My question is in wearing multiple hats. Is there like a baseline? This is probably a bigger question than just your department. But in terms of, is there an operation manual for each department? So that when people are, walking into a new position or filling in for somebody else's position, and presumably the person they would ask is not there, is there any kind of institutional memory that is being built or has been built?
So it's GDIS is fortunate because we are many divisions. So each employee in the department falls under typically a different division. But because we work together in the same office, often we can jump in for each other. So yes, we wear multiple hats, but if somebody new is hired, they have training that's available for them. Over the past several years, I've worked to try to make sure like our front desk staff are cross-trained so that, one person is not just doing these duties. They can also jump in and do these duties if somebody's out. So yes, for front desk staff. For the employees within the divisions, we are very big on training. So if there's training out there, we send people. Obviously, you try to have you're hiring people that have some sort of basic knowledge about the position, but you have to invest in training and send your people to, the conferences that I mentioned. We have there's for building department, I think they have like it's like a monthly training. There's regular classes. Animal control has all sorts of trainings, online trainings. Then they have field trainings on how to deal with aggressive animals. Health, we have national conferences, state conferences. I mean, my people are going to an awesome training tomorrow on housing court and how to deal with the court process. I mean, there's not a training that, like, if we can afford it, our people are going to it. Does that answer your question?
No, I mean, I would like to see some of that, when they go to those things and they pick up all these jewels.
Yeah.
They should be written down so that the next person who shows up, instead of waiting 6 months for the training, can actually get familiar with the best ideas and the best practices. And anybody who shows up,
So-
sort of step in. I think, we've got a $90 million business. We should have some operations manuals for the employees.
So the
It's a generic thing.
Oh.
Not so much, again, not really about your department per se, just it's more of a bigger question.
I mean, I can say the operation manuals are going to be basically the codes that we're enforcing. So in health, we have at least, I'm thinking 6 6+ state codes that we use like pretty much every day. So the person comes in, yes, they get trained, they have to go through, they have to read the codes, they have to figure out, what these things mean, and then they have trainings that are associated with those. Same thing in the building department. They have state codes, international codes, local codes. These type of positions, we are very closely working with regulations, Code of Massachusetts Regulations, Mass General Laws, local bylaws, town bylaws. There's all sorts of those. That's basically what we do.
Karen?
If I could add to that, we are working on like instruction manuals in the different departments. Like my assistant has been there only over a month, but we're putting together, the instructions for this is how we do payroll, this is how we do our accounts payable, and we're implementing the electronic purchase orders now. So now we have some, manuals for that too. So we are working towards that.
Back to the public health budget, just clarify for me, I think I know the answer, but the nurse service line, is that the town's portion? We have access to the school nurses? Or is that a complete, I'm just trying to, I forgot what the nurse line was
Sure.
for.
Yeah, thank you for the question. So the nursing service under the Board of Health is separate than the school nursing.
School nurses,
So
okay.
school nursing that support the schools, that falls under the school budget. This is for our communicable disease nurse. So they handle all the communicable disease. We get notifications from the state through the MAVEN system, which is a confidential system that notifies her. Then she takes that in accordance with all of the Mass General laws regarding that, and then makes contact with the person to give them advisement and follow up on any requirements.
Is that,
follow-up
is
visits.
that I got to be careful how I ask this. Is that a work from home position, or is that person in your office a certain amount of time, or is it outsourced?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. No, the nurse is not here.
Not here?
No,
Okay.
the nurse is like on the phone, speaking with the state, speaking with the resident in need, making site visits. So no, they don't have a desk.
So the need for this generates in the office and then gets directed to the nurse?
Yeah, it's actually a system that comes directly from the state to the
It's through
nurse.
the state to Auburn's nurse?
Yep, that's correct.
Thank
Yep,
you.
great question.
Okay. No other questions on public health? Planning and economic development?
Sure. So planning and economic development, this is new. We had both of these as kind of separate budgets. So planning and economic development, that's part of the changes that have been made with the new assistant town manager and economic development director. And then we have the economic development coordinator and town planner position, and also the land use. So the land use coordinator, you'll see that 15,762. That is, that's split 4 ways. So it falls under planning, zoning, conservation, and then through the conservation fund. So
This might be a question for Karen, but can you just remind me what the conservation fund is, like how that's funded and what those funds are used for?
The conservation or wetlands funds, those come in from the fees that are charged go into a special fund. It's a special revenue fund. And there is a informational guideline release that came from the state. There's certain expenses that are allowed to be paid from there. And what we do is we offset part of the clerical salary. I think it's about $5,000 for some clerical support for conservation. And like Darlene had said, there's a quarter of the land use coordinator's salary that's allocated towards those funds.
And for you, is that Lori Ann Copeland, the clerk that's offset by conservation?
No.
Okay, so I had a question because she's listed on the last page
Oh, yes,
of like the
yeah.
increases, but then she's not, I can't find her anywhere in the
Oh,
budget.
sure. So Lorianne Copeland is a clerk in my department, but part-time. So actually Karen and I share her. So she's a full-time clerk, but she supports both finance and
Is she
DDIS.
paid entirely out of finance?
No, she is paid a portion out of solid waste. So
Oh,
solid
okay.
waste
Solid waste is a separate budget.
Yes.
That's where it is. Okay.
So the solid-
I've been looking through DDS trying to figure out where she gets
Yes.
paid, and I couldn't find it, and I was nervous that I was going to offset last week's find of money with the opposite. So,
Yes.
yeah, no, we're good. This is great.
She
Thank
floats between the two departments, so she supports both of us.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Excuse me.
On legal, is there a reason why there's a legal line in this budget and it's not part of the legal overall?
So,
Constitutes that's a minimus amount.
yeah, so the legal notices line item is for, that's actually there. Sometimes we use it and sometimes we don't. So in the past, when we've had to advertise for certain, I think it was years ago, we had a lot of advertisements regarding zoning bylaws, general bylaws. There was, I'm sorry, I don't remember the year, but it's the year that we did the whole big update on the general bylaws. We had a whole committee on that, and there was a whole lot of legal cost that developed from that. And so that is actually why we have that line item, because we used a significant amount of money. I can tell you, we don't always utilize that money, but it's there just in case we need it.
Any other questions on money and economic?
The town planner, there's been some interviewing and stuff. Is that still in motion or has that been?
Yes.
Has that been finalized?
Yes, so we have been doing interviewing, and that is ongoing.
Still ongoing?
Yes.
Okay, energy management?
Oh, I'm sorry. We have energy management. I'm sorry. I have ZBA here. All right, so energy management, again, this was something that I mentioned from the presentation. So before, in last year, this would have been a double budget, so economic development and energy management. Now that we have one full-time person as part of being supported by that grant, that's this budget here. So that's why you see that 15,357. There's also a portion that gets paid from the grant, and then the other portion comes from the municipal aggregation.
Patrick?
What's the timeline on this grant? Is this part of the prior person was on this payroll? Is this a 3 or 5 year grant or?
So yes, thank you. The grant is a 3-year grant, and we got awarded it last year, so we're moving into the second year. So it's 3 years. The reason that I did speak with our CFO and town manager and recommended that we have it go through this process is because the whole point of getting this grant, it's to start the town out with some money to put towards getting somebody in that role. Once that person is in that role, they start doing a checklist of items to try to figure out how to save money. So the goal is to
Save enough money to pay
save
for
enough
the
money to
role.
pay, exactly, yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. So I can tell you, like, the one exciting thing, and I don't know, I think I had a box in there, but I don't think I mentioned it. The employee who's been here less than a year has already had an assessment done, maybe in the past month or so, past 4 or 5 weeks. And there's 18 town buildings that a company's come out to go around, go in, check like the HVAC system, the insulation, the windows, walls, you name it. And right now, we're waiting for that report. So once we get that report back, it tells you like, what's wrong in each building and how can you improve each building. So we're waiting for that report back. Once we have that, then we'll have kind of the next step of, okay, are there any grants out there? How can we, for example, upgrade the HVAC system in the police station or, whatever. So that is going on, so kind of exciting. We should be able to have some news for you in the near future.
Okay. Go ahead, sorry.
Was that position involved in the Green Communities
Yes,
grant that's paying for the installation?
absolutely, yes, yep.
I'm just going to go through the ones that are under this one tab, and then I'll go back to solid waste and zoning, which have their own tabs, if that's okay. That's okay, Darrell?
Oh, yeah, are we
I'm
doing,
going to go on to building and code.
oh, sure.
Stand the ones that are under one.
Yep, absolutely. Building and code, we don't have anything, no significant changes here.
I do have one question. It sort of relates to the next few. DPW had mentioned a software program that they had recently identified for citizen calls for requests for items to be addressed. Basically, it was administratively work orders, and at some point that system would allow for the public to have a front-facing, called in a pothole, and I see that it was addressed on this date and time, as opposed to driving around looking for the pothole again to see if it ever got filled. Is there an equivalent for folks that call in either for complaints or concerns about conservation, health issues, dumping, properties that seem to be abandoned, things of that nature? Is there a mechanism and is there a follow-up? And I guess we always sort of look for efficiencies. If we're paying for one software application for one department, is it something that can be utilized for another?
So thank you for the question. Right now, we have, so the building department is online for the permitting system. We don't have any other of the divisions online under OpenGov. However, I know it's something that has been discussed. We've talked about it generally. We use OpenGov in the clerk's office, and how that relates to us is with animal control. So the town clerk and the animal control officer often communicate because of the dog licensing. So you can do online dog licensing. And then that information transmits to us for, okay, they're applying for a dog license, but maybe they're not up to date on the rabies, so we can't issue the tag. Can the animal control officer help assist with that? Or, call the veterinary clinic? Did we just not get the certificate? So, so those two areas in DDIS are part of OpenGov. We would like to bring more divisions online with it. And I think that there is opportunity there. Obviously, it comes with a cost.
Town manager, was it?
The chair, just to remind you, in the CIP I think we put it in this, no, it's actually under the IT budget. We added a $33,000 line item for OpenGov for DPW so that they can now communicate with Town Hall, which is assessing DDIS, and the clerk's office. So they'll all be working off that database. So that's budgeted this year in IT. No problem.
So we were at building and code. I'm sorry to jump off of there. Nothing specific on this one?
No specific changes.
Questions?
Happy to answer any questions.
Conservation?
Conservation, no significant changes.
Questions on this? Animal control?
Animal control. So animal control, we do have two changes. When we had presented to the Select Board. There was some discussion about some animal control functions and questions about what animal control's needs are. So we have in this budget here, the town manager and CFO have worked with us for this budget that you have. So ACO, Animal Control Officer, Veterinary Expenses, the line item, as you can see, was 1,000, and the request now is 3,000. In one of those slides that I showed you, the Animal Control Officer had tried to explain that even if we were to get just one vet bill a month for $250, which one bill a month, I mean, maybe, but we have a pretty high volume kennel. So that would give us the 3,000 right there. We do everything we can to try to reunite animals with owners. Sometimes we have not great stories where people dump animals that are in need of vet care, are abused, or just generally, we have to provide vet care. So that is, as I mentioned, I think we were about 6 months into the budget, and we were already zero in that line item. So that is the request there. So that is a change from the budget last year. And then the conference, meeting, travel, education line item is what I was explaining. Obviously, we want to invest in our staff, and we have relatively new staff in animal control. So to be able to provide training to them for conferences and online classes, that's the change that you see there.
Darlene, animal control is also supplemented by donations as well. Is there a Friends of the Kennel, or I don't even see dog food really listed on here. Am I correct in that? And can you explain that a little bit?
Sure, thank you so much. So the animal control budget that you see here, this is for tax levy. We have a separate revolving account that we accept donations, and we are fortunate to get donations. I can tell you, our animal control officer has been very in the community, and recently, over the holiday, it was like literally like Christmas time. We had people coming in with bags and bags of food. So right now, we are presently stocked, but I can tell you for like a good portion of last year, we had to buy dog food and kitty litter every week, and it was very costly. So when the money runs out here, we do have to utilize, we have a donation revolving account that we tap into. So any time that we don't have to tap into that helps us. So this is the tax levy portion, but we do have a revolving account for anybody that wants to donate to the kennel.
Karen, do you have something to add to?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention again, in the packet that you received tonight, there was a revised animal control budget. So I just wanted to point out on the veterinary expenses, which the director talked about, the original budget that you received, it was at 1,500, and that increased by 1,500 to 3,000. And then under the conferences and travel, it was originally 1,500, and it went to 2,500.
Any other questions on this one? Do we want to make a recommendation just on the DDIS portion, because we have a total down the bottom here, and then we can move on to those other two subsections that fall under you?
I move to recommend the $1,079,245 town manager recommendation for the DDIS bottom line budget.
Second.
You're supposed to wait.
There were a motion and a space and then a second. Any questions or discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
We'll go to solid waste, 433 is the tab on your.
It's just one back.
Make sure you pause.
Okay. All right, so for the solid waste budget, so we have, as I explained, we are in a contract. The contract is up in the end of June, and we are currently in looking at all options, including negotiation with the current hauler. They have expressed interest in working with us, and that is something that we're hoping to be able to make sure that we don't. Right now, this is a proposed 6% increase. There's a lot of factors that play into that. Over the past several years, solid waste costs have increased significantly. Part of that is through recycling processing cost, and there's a lot of rules and requirements through the State Department of Environmental Protection on how to handle recycling. We do a lot of education for the residents to be able to make sure that people are doing recycling done right. We hopefully, actually, it'll be kind of any time in the next month, you'll see a little flyer coming to all households. In the past, you may recall, we've been doing this for several years. So we try to send out flyers at least once or twice a year to residents. They sometimes have like a little magnet on them, so you can put them on the fridge, and it kind of gives you like what belongs in the recycling bin and what doesn't. Recycling processing costs have increased significantly. Recycling, so when you put recycling in the container and it gets picked up, contamination is anything that doesn't belong in that recycling container. Contamination actually makes it unusable. So not only if you reach a certain limit of contamination in that load, they can actually charge you more than what you'd pay to throw it away in the regular trash. So we spend a lot of time on education. Like I said, we've got a mailer that's going out soon. We pay for that mailer with grant money, so it doesn't cost, it's no cost to the residents. We also offer days like the ones I mentioned, so the cleanup days, the household hazardous waste days, to be able to try to give residents, I find, in my experience, most people want to do the right thing. They want to get rid of an item correctly. They just need the means to do that. So you need somebody that's willing to take the time, listen to the resident, give them options, and often we have programs here that we can advise on. So that's one part of the contract. And then the actual tipping fee, we have a hauling contract, and then we also have a disposal contract. That disposal contract is with Win Waste, and that is a 20-year contract that is going to be due at the end of next year. So there's two separate contracts.
I guess this is one that, for whatever reason, the percentage didn't make it at the bottom of the spreadsheet.
Oh, it's about 6%.
6%.
Yeah.
This is one I sort of hold my breath on. I don't think on the federal level, recycling is a priority, and fuel costs, and there's a lot of unknowns there that I'm concerned that when it comes to negotiations, it could be more, but I'm sure you have the same concerns.
I share those concerns. Yeah.
Yeah, I was unfamiliar with the, like the excess charges for contaminated. And is that something we see in our community regularly? And is that baked into this, like the expectation that there's going to be X number of times where we might have to pay those fees, or is this number based strictly on what our, like, everything goes perfect number?
Well, it's not everything that goes perfect, but we do try to estimate what we are going to get for tonnage. And based on from previous years, we have been fortunate to be able to have a responsive hauler to be able to handle our service. And it's kind of like a whole big picture of making sure the residents get service, they're not missed. We have drivers that are responsive. We actually have our recycling, solid waste and recycling coordinator out on the route every day. So literally, they drive the route. We have, each day is a different route, and then on Fridays, we have actually 2 routes. So there's 6 total routes in the town. The education piece and making sure that people are doing the right thing is an important part of the job and an important part of the program. Going forward, that is a real cost if we have to pay for contaminated loads. So we have been fortunate up to this point, but in the past year, it is something that is becoming more and more something that we need to pay attention to. So when we have heard from our hauler saying, hey, wait a minute, we've got a problem, we've got like 15% on this load, okay, which route is it? Is the Tuesday route? All right, can we take a look and see what's happening? Is there a certain item that's in there, or is it just trash in general? So recognizing that the rules are, we have state rules, to the chair's point, obviously there's, maybe different priorities between federal and state. But we think that, again, giving people the right information to do the things to stay on the program. Our program, actually, when you compare our pricing to other municipalities, is very competitive. So, often people want to stay on the program because if you were to go to a private hauler, they're a lot more expensive. So, we do recognize that contamination in those costs are real. So we're trying to send out mailers. We've got a presentation that expands on those couple of slides. So the select board do like a little snapshot of each division, and we're excited. In the next couple of months, we'll have that presentation brought, but it kind of gives more information to the community on, like, these are really good things. I can tell you not every town does this.
Patrick, do you have something?
Well, I wanted to echo, I have a lot of concerns about it, and I think, I think I was in high school when recycling started, so I've just watched it morph and change throughout decades. And I have people that visit me, they'll be from another state, and they'll go by and they'll go, you can't recycle that. And I'll be like, well, yeah, I can, because I look at the flyer or whatever. And they're like, well, it's single stream anyway. And I'm like, okay, so you're telling me I can't recycle this? And I think if you live in Florida half the year, which, we have, my point is that depending on where you're standing and which position you're in at any moment in time, you're going to have 5 people, regardless of the education we're doing and what we say, because I'm well aware of the whole contamination thing. And I think what's very frustrating is you have a group of people, probably in any municipality, that don't care. They're just going to contaminate because they just want to get it out of the house. You have a group of people that are going to be very conscious, and they're going to try to get those flyers and follow those. And then you have vendors who have recycle marks on their products, but they're really not recyclable. So, and then you have the whole plastic, where all this plastic is being found in our water system. So I really, and knowing that it's single stream, and when you have it, I have one friend who's a recycle fanatic. And they've actually come out and said, it doesn't matter, it's single stream, it's all going to end up trash anyway. So I just wanted to, while everybody was sharing their concerns, say that after 50, 60 years, and with a lot of the environmental issues that are occurring, I don't know that I still to this day really fully understand the money that we're spending, why it isn't. And just on its simplest form, you have, I just read that Connecticut charges 10 cents for a recycled plastic bottle now, a soda can or whatever. Their deposit fee is 10 cents. Well, people in Massachusetts and New York are going over the border because Massachusetts and New York never passed going past a nickel. So now Connecticut has a fiscal issue because you're going in there, you're buying your can in Massachusetts, or you're buying it in New York, and then you're going over the border and you're getting 10 cents for it. So I only wanted to take a minute to just, from not really a finance committee member, but in my position as a finance committee member and somebody who's participated in this, to say that I think it's worse now than it was when it first evolved. And no matter what kind of education you have, I think for me it's difficult because when I'm in my home and I see something and I clean it out and I throw it in and it goes into my bucket, no one's come up to my front door yet, knocked on the door and said, hey, we found this in your recycle bin, though I do know sometimes they call people to homes, or they'll say, I've been told that people have actually gone back and told people, you can't recycle this. But what happens when a truck in a district automatically is like at 35% contamination? Do you actually go to someone's home and say, we found this in your trash? Or how do you change that?
So a couple of things. I understand what you're saying. Different states definitely handle it differently. In Massachusetts, recycling is required. So it is something under the state law that we are required to do. So that's
And that's important to recognize.
That's the
that
first
this is a
thing.
mandated expense.
Right, exactly.
Right.
So it's not an option. We can't say, you know what, we're just gonna throw everything in the trash. It's not like, okay, so that's not an option. So it's required by DEP. Waste is a big issue. So everything in our society is, like you use it once and then you throw it away. The space for waste is smaller and smaller and smaller. So they're not making new landfills. The cost to get rid of waste, when you have to put it on the rail and send it out to different states, and they do that, it goes up. So the cost of doing that goes up. So in our municipality, what we can do is we can educate residents to make sure that they are producing the least amount of waste and recycling the most amount of product correctly, giving them education, doing enforcement when needed. We have, again, the employee goes around and drives around town every day. There is, the next step would be to, there's a lifting lids program where somebody stops and actually checks to make sure. Those towns, I know that has been done closer to like the cities. And those programs are very effective to help combat with the contamination issue. So there's education, there's enforcement, there's further programs that we can do. And I have to say, I understand where you're coming from, but the recycling industry has become much more refined. They have all sorts of equipment now. So if you were to go to our facility on Hardscrabble Road.
I was just going to interject and going in the same direction you are. I believe last year you told us that it actually spills out onto a conveyor belt and it gets analyzed. And that if they find one or two things, they pull them off. It's great, it works, we'll send it through. But if they find 30, or that's where they're coming up with their percentages, is because if they see a bunch of stuff on the conveyor belt, they're going to wipe out that whole area and then it becomes contamination, and that's where the expense falls on us.
Right, so there's audits that are done.
That's the word I'm looking for,
We'll have
actual audit.
audits, so one load, from Tuesday, one load from Friday. So they do random audits. It's not the same day, it's not the same time. Our last audits were done actually before the holiday. I wanted to make sure it wasn't the actual holiday week, because that's not really fair. Everybody's got a ton of everything. So I think it was done before the early in December. So it's things that we pay attention to. You have to change with the changing times. So I think that trying to be able to like keep up with it so that we don't end up with those extra costs is the best thing that we can do to protect the town and to help residents, to keep the program, these costs competitive. I assure you, this is not like if you were to get like a private contract, it's a lot more than what they're paying for the service now.
I had a question. Do we actually get paid for the recycling, or do we just pay less of a tipping charge?
So we have the way that the recycling processing costs work, it's like a cost share. So the cleaner the product is, the more it's worth. So according to the market, I'm sorry, I'm not an expert in this area, but basically how it works is if the product is in demand and there's a higher need for it, for example, like cardboard, you get 1 million deliveries. Cardboard that's clean and in its virgin form is usually the highest commodity. So you'll get a price for that. That price goes up and down according to like the big global market, and they determine that recycling processing cost based on the market, and our bill reflects it like literally each month. So we get a monthly bill for service, and then it'll have a line for recycling processing, what that cost is. If there's like a diesel charge, whatever the monthly service is, and then if there's any charges for like broken carts or they had to go back for, somebody dumped a mattress, like extra costs like that.
So basically, we pay to tip it. We got to pay the full tipping cost, and then we're going to get a credit based on whatever the current market rate is. We'll get a credit. As opposed to
Yeah, so
they're picking it up for free. They're not picking it up for free.
Sure. So the hauling is one contract. So they pick up that product, and the hauler also, we're fortunate because we have the transfer station at the end of Hardscrabble Road, which is also owned by the hauler. So the recycling goes there to be processed. The trash then goes to Millbury for Wheelabrator, or they call it Win Innovations.
You mentioned that you're planning on doing a mailing for the, would that not just go out with the bills, or is that too complicated?
So we get the opportunity to put like a little message on the bill. It's like this big. So yes, we typically have some sort of message on the bills, but this mailer is like something you can pick up and like put on your fridge. So we do utilize.
And I know I said this last
free
year,
one.
but I'll suggest again, I think we should be mailing out a sticker that people can put right on the bin. Because that's really, on a
throw it in,
refrigerator,
you
you're
can see
fighting with the grandkids and every magnet from all over the world. But if it's a sticker, you can have the kids at Bay Path print them, screen print them. I could teach them how if they don't know how. It should be on the bin because that's really where they need to know what is good and what is bad. And even though it'll change sometimes, something that's durable for the next tenant, whatever.
Steve, right on the inside of that lid, when you lift it up and you go, "Nah, I can't throw that in there."
Yeah.
I mean, that's a great suggestion to actually mail them out. We actually do have the stickers, and when the coordinator goes out, she sees a problem, she'll actually leave education and put a sticker right on the bin. But to mail them out to all the residents, I'll look at the cost of what that is. Thank you.
I mean,
So
a
you're saying-
sticker is definitely more than a piece of paper, but, huge difference in impact.
Questions on, Andrew?
Just one. You had mentioned that sorry, not the hauling contract, but the other contract's up 20 years.
Disposal.
Is that another 20-year renewal? Like, is that something we're putting out? I mean, I imagine that's going to be a large increase if we're looking back from 20 years ago.
Yeah, so right now we are in a, like a partnership with other towns that were part of kind of that original contract. There's, I think, maybe about 30 or 33 towns that were part of that original contract. So a bunch of towns have gotten together in the past year to see, is there something that we can put together where we can have some buying power, some leverage to be able to do another contract. So that's in process right now.
And then, sorry, just one more on the waste, the hauling side, that contract comes up every couple of years. Do you get to dictate the terms of that, or is that kind of dictated by the vendor, Casella, or whoever we're using? Like, do you have a standard of this is what Auburn expects, give us your best shot at that? Or is it something they give you what they can do and then you pick from, multiple options?
Sure, yes. It is, it's what our requests are that we want to see for service. Obviously, we want to have at minimum, the trash and recycling picked up, but providing the service for like the extra, so the yard waste picked up twice a year. Curbside is a real advantage, making sure that the hauler is responsive. If somebody is missed, legitimately missed, the driver, because of the way of the world, it's hard to keep drivers. So it's often like, okay, we have a new person. It's going to take them a little while to learn the routes. So sometimes people get missed. If you have to back down a road, you have to back down and then turn. We have a whole list of like special areas of town that are hard to get to. So it's all those things that are part of the contract. We want to make sure somebody's going to be responsive and somebody knows like, okay, this is our special Wednesday route. So yes, we're the ones asking for XYZ.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just had one other question, which you may not know. Do you know where the ash goes that comes out of Millbury?
I actually do. So when it gets burned at Wheelabrator, they have a contract for monofill, actually in Shrewsbury. So they drive it down 20, and they have a portion of that landfill there is where the ash goes.
That's a lot. That must have been a huge hole for 20 years.
They've over the years, they've expanded, but yeah, that's, in one of the cool things is actually, it's available for, members. They do, they offer to municipalities a tour at those facilities. It's amazing. It's gives you a better appreciation of our world and making sure that people are responsible with waste.
You didn't have that when we did the citizens leadership thing, but I would have liked that, as well as Wheelabrator. We never got into Wheelabrator either. Not Wheelabrator, the Stinkerator. I feel it's-
So actually, both places that we utilize, so they do tours at Casella at the end of Hardscrabble Road, and they also do tours at Wheelabrator. And I have to say, it's very exciting.
Just one other question. You said that contract negotiations have been going on, and I know that was an answer given to the Board of Selectmen a few weeks back. Is there any going concern or reason to think that we won't settle this contract before the fiscal year, and that it may have to be pending going into the budget for town meeting?
Sure, thank you for the question. I think it's something that, based on the
The
discussions.
current activity?
Yeah, based on what's happening right now, I think it's, we'll be able to do that before the fiscal year.
Thank you.
No other questions? We have a manager's recommendation for solid waste of $1,565,456.
Motion to recommend?
Motion and a second to recommend. Any questions? Not?
She was asking.
Yeah, Trevor got used. Trevor was.
Trevor seconded that.
To make sure that-
I want that in the minutes, I will be.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Last one is Board of
ZBA.
Appeals, zoning Board of Appeals, 176.
So the Board of Appeals is the zoning Board of Appeals budget, and that is the 1/4. The admin assistant is actually the portion of the land use coordinator salary.
Questions on this one?
Motion to recommend?
Recommend town manager's budget recommendation of $16,262. Have a motion and Trevor for the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Ellie, thank you. You got something else?
CIP?
Yep.
Oh, thank you. She's on it, door.
Keep him honest.
Slipping.
Exactly. I know those are.
So CIP is for DDIS, is just one item. So it's 15,000. It is part of a 5-year lease purchase for replacement of one of our fleet vehicles. So we start in FY '28, and we'll have one more year of the same $15,000 request.
There's nothing in FY '27.
There's nothing for it.
No,
Excuse me, wow.
I'm sorry. You don't, are we on FY 2031?
No, 7/27.
Oh, I'm sorry.
28 is the first year we see that interview.
that's correct.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Excellent. So we're okay on that one?
Good.
Okay, lovely. Oh, now I get it. Okay, sorry.
I did have one question relative to your receipts at the beginning of the budget season when we were going over. In the line item where it says, I just had it, permits and licenses. Are the health department's permits, are those the annual permits and so forth? Are all of those permits and licenses that the Board of Health, is that part of the 565,000? Or is that fall in another category?
I'm sorry, from the,
Board of Health, so in other words,
Yep.
on the local receipts page, which is done at the beginning of the budget process.
oh.
There's a
okay.
line item in receipts called licenses and permits. And I know that the Board of Health has a lot of permitting
Oh,
that
sure,
happens
okay.
annually and as businesses open and close. That's the line item that
correct.
is there. Is it possible to get the fiscal year 26 and 27 receipts, just a snapshot of what the last year or two receipts were relative to DDIS and the Public Health Department and the various, just the ones that are attributed to her area?
Or I have
Or-
I have the detail of what makes that up, so I'll
Could we get the
provide it.
detail of that
Yep.
whole dollar amount?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I don't have that in front of me, but I can certainly look at it. But, okay. I'll work with
We'll work
Karen
together and
to get you what you
provide it
need.
to you. Yep.
That's all we have for you, Donnie. Thank you for the
Thank you so
the
much.
detail, the time, the presentation. I think, I don't know if we're posting presentations like that on the town website or on your page, but I think it should be, because that's,
Absolutely. Yes. I will,
I know that's what I was looking for. I got the premise.
I will share it tomorrow morning. Thank you so much for your support.
Thank you. Any other, we don't have any other business on here? Minutes, do we have any minutes to approve? We'll just a,
Motion to adjourn.
motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
So. Very good. Oh, we didn't bring the gavel out tonight.
Okay, come on.